was a moment that not only defined Universe 7, but also Vegeta as a fighter, as he engaged himself against the most powerful and dangerous competitor in the Tournament of Power, as even after giving it everything he had, he was still no match for Jiren's might, as the mighty Jiren left Vegeta laying in a crater, seemingly lifeless. But despite having to be beaten almost within an inch of his life, Vegeta isn't finished with Jiren just yet. What is going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome to my Dragon Ball Super episode 123 breakdown review entitled Body and Soul Full Power Release, Goku and Vegeta, leading into next week's exciting episode of Dragon Ball Super episode 124, which once again promises yet another chaotic episode as Universe 7 engages against Universe 11, only this time we have Gohan stepping in the way and having a fight against Dyspo. If you guys like the Dragon Ball content that I provide on this channel, then make sure you guys punch that subscribe button with notifications enabled to be the first to receive all the latest in Dragon Ball content and be a part of the Dragon Ball squad. And also don't forget to follow me on these social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, to stay connected with me at all times, hashtag Dragon Ball Squad, as Dragon Ball Super episode 123 not only demonstrated as to how ferocious Jiren can actually be, but seeing the utilization of the teamwork between Goku and Vegeta in facing off against Jiren. Now, the Dragon Ball Super episode 124 preview showcases not only Golden Frieza, but it also showcases Gohan stepping in and fighting Dyspo one-on-one. Now, the reason why this is so important is because Gohan realizes that Frieza is in trouble and goes off to save him according to the spoilers. And with that being said, we're going to further break down and analyze the Dragon Ball Super episode 124 preview in a separate video, as I do want to more or less discuss this episode and the level of epicness between Goku, Vegeta, and Jiren, which resulted in a cliffhanger but also in a shocking finish, as both Goku and Vegeta powered up as far as they could, with Goku unleashing Kaioken and Vegeta tapping into a brand new power. Now, as a result, early on in the beginning, we saw more or less a demonstration of Goku's strategy, his more or less strategic skills on the battlefield and trying to catch someone like Jiren off guard, in which early on he did. Now, as a display, early on in the episode when Goku went to go check up on Vegeta, Jiren, being as overconfident as he is, turned his back to both Goku and Vegeta, but acknowledges Vegeta as a true warrior, as the gods are very honored to even stand in the presence of Jiren as he was fighting Goku and Vegeta. And now, as Goku pretty much puts Vegeta down and focusing and redirecting his attention to Jiren, and as he does so, he begins to lay down these little energy spheres, and they serve a purpose in actually resembling that of landmines. And Jiren, unexpectedly, without knowing, is attacking Goku, and as Goku is using more or less of his speed in order to try to throw Jiren off guard, he finally notices that Jiren is about to take a few steps in that direction which he laid down those little energy spheres, and as Jiren begins to step on each of those spheres, they begin to go off. Now, again, these little spheres serve the purpose in being like bombs, and as they were going off, they had no effect, absolutely no effect on Jiren, which later causes Goku in using the Destructo Disc, the Kienzan, and he got that from Krillin because as they were engaging, Goku actually thought of a way to use the Destructo Disc to his advantage in not more or less slicing Jiren in half, but using that as an advantage to cut around the perimeter around Jiren to throw him out of the ring. Now, in this episode, Goku technically knocked Jiren out of the ring. Now, the way he did that as a method was as they were fighting by the edge of the ring, there was a piece of rock that was serving as a ledge, and if that ledge were to be broken, whoever was standing by the edge would essentially fall into the void. And Goku, very notably, as he launched the Kienzan in Jiren's direction, not only was Jiren knocking them out with his fist and breaking right through them, which is scary because Jiren was fighting off a Super Saiyan Blue Destructo Disc and breaking them in half with just by punching them, but Goku, as he was getting beat up, you would assume that Jiren was gonna finish him off, but instead, some of the Destructo Discs that Goku sent off into the void came back and cutting the ground around Jiren and sending him out of the ring. And that right there would have been the end of the tournament, because that would have served a purpose in Jiren getting wrung out. But instead, what happened was Jiren more or less used his energy, his condensed power, the energy that he had within him, in creating this red aura, and all of the little rocks, all of the little tiny pebbles that were all around Jiren's direction, he used that as a means to climb back in the ring. He bounced off of each of the individual rocks, each of the individual pebbles, in repelling himself back in the ring. And the reason why this is so important is because we've never seen this done before by any given character. He literally was able to use his energy in bouncing right back up and sending himself flying back in the ring as he resumed his fight with Goku. Now, before diving any further into this episode, the only downside I would have to say for this episode was Vegeta having to recover so quickly in getting this brand new power in fighting Jiren. Not that there was anything wrong with that, I just personally feel, don't you guys think Vegeta ought to have sat this episode down just momentarily while Goku had his moment in fighting him? And I may sound like I'm speaking from a subjective point of view and just wanting to see Goku fight, when in fact that's not the case at all. Instead, I feel like after having to take such punishment from Jiren, it would have made more sense for Vegeta to sit this one out and recover, and then giving him this power boost instead of just having him get up right away and engaging Jiren from there. Even though it was a very cool moment to see as both Goku and Vegeta worked together in fighting a common enemy as a cohesive unit, that was really spectacular to see. I just feel like, just like Goku in the entire tournament, Vegeta should have simply recovered, and I understand that they're trying to put out as much as possible given that we're dwindling down on time and there's not much time remaining, and the only reason why I am bringing up the recovery factor is because going back to the battle with even Kid Buu, it was a defining moment for both Goku and Vegeta as they also fought Kid Buu 2-on-1, but the only difference was when one character went down, he took a minute to recover before jumping back in, and that was the only flaw for me in the episode. The episode was great. I don't think animation-wise, detail-wise, it was as spectacular as last week's, given the fact that obviously we had one of the best freelancing artists on the market having to animate and direct last week's episode with Takahashi was spectacular, but this week felt a bit underwhelming. Not that animation truly does matter, but it's 2018 and there are certain animators that I'm really not too fond of when looking at specific characters and the way they look in terms of design. But either way, the episode had such an influence on not only Goku's fight with Jiren and pretty much understanding that everything he threw at Jiren was literally for nothing because he couldn't damage him, he couldn't hurt him, there was nothing that Goku could have done to even have an effect on Jiren, but also seeing Vegeta's development as well, as we are going to talk about this in a future video coming up this week. But looking at the fundamentals of Jiren was able to display a power that shook Goku out of Super Saiyan Blue. I cannot ever recall a time where Goku was scared out of a transformation. I do not recall this in the least. The only time I ever recall someone getting scared out of a transformation was Vegeta against Broly in the first film. Aside from that, I don't remember anybody else in Dragon Ball getting so terrified to the point where they not only powered down, but they got obliterated as they powered down. So as Goku saw firsthand what Jiren was capable of in holding back such power, such force behind this one punch that he wanted to land on Goku this entire time but couldn't, that one punch, if anything, could have possibly have killed Goku if connected. But with everything having to be shown in this episode, it really begs the question as to what is Jiren? What even is he in terms of dimensional power, in terms of his feats? This character literally breaks all of the laws that Dragon Ball has set throughout the years, and he just completely removes them. And it's scary because I'm not trying to compare Jiren to maybe, an angel per se, or the Daishinkan, but he is well above a god, I would have to say. And the idea that early on in the beginning of the episode, Vegeta even established in saying that Jiren is still holding back tremendous amounts of power, and seeing what he did in this episode as he fought Goku and Vegeta, it was a clear demonstration that Jiren is still holding back. Now the million-dollar question is, what is going to force Jiren into using more of his full power? At this very point, I'm not even so sure that Ultra Instinct can get the job done, especially if he's supposed to be hiding such power that even the gods feel honored to be around his presence. Now, the motive behind Vegeta's transformation was thinking about Kaba. It wasn't even his own family, it wasn't Bulma, it wasn't even his own son Trunks or future Trunks. He more or less thought about Kaba. He thought about Kaba, I would have to say, for various different reasons. Number one, it's a fellow Saiyan, your own people having to be wiped out of existence, and that was a fuel that Vegeta used in driving himself in achieving this brand new power, this brand new transformation. And more suitably than anything else, I'm gonna have to say this form meant so much to Vegeta because all he ever thought about was Kaba in saying, I will avenge you, I will bring you back. And despite all else, Vegeta transformed. First of all, his transformation was on a godly level. Not just because of the way he looked, but also his influence while fighting with Goku, because I don't ever reckon a time, aside from fighting Merge Zamasu, where Goku and Vegeta both worked together to fight off a common enemy. Now, regardless of that, Jiren, judging based on the way he was handling them both, he was able to casually handle both Goku and Vegeta during that battle. And what's even more terrifying to know is the fact that he kept challenging them and saying, come, come, and even by the end leaving us off on a cliffhanger. Now, the question lingers as to how far both Goku and Vegeta are going to go as they further their fight with Jiren. How is Goku going to tap back into Ultra Instinct, because that's going to be something that is going to play a part of determining what's going to happen at the end of the tournament as time begins to dwindle down, as literally there's only a few minutes left, so it kind of like narrows it down to Ultra Instinct, as I do believe that Ultra Instinct is going to be the key component in causing Jiren's elimination, if he's even eliminated to begin with. But the episode itself establishes also Frieza having to fight Dyspo, and what I really enjoyed about Frieza is the fact that Frieza, as he's fighting Dyspo, didn't really seem to be alarmed at all. I mean, he was very irritated in the idea that despite what Frieza was trying to do against Dyspo, he wasn't able to catch him. That's his only problem. He can't seem to catch Dyspo. Despite not being severely injured or hurt, the only problem Frieza has is not being able to catch Dyspo. On the other side, we get to see Toppo, and there was lots of reused animation for Toppo, which I kind of did not like, because it was as clear as day that they copied the Zen exhibition bout between Toppo and Goku. Not that there's anything severely wrong with that, but they could have done things a bit differently in approaching it in a different manner. But having to look at it from an objective point of view, it was still interesting to see how Toppo was casually bodying 17 and Gohan. But the only thing was that 17 and Gohan had over Toppo was teamwork, which effectively worked because it caused Toppo to kind of get pushed by the edge of the ring, which they could have, I guess you could say, to an extent push him out if they wanted to, but due to plot, I feel like they're saving Toppo for something else. But by the end of it, we see in the preview that Frieza's gonna go golden, and everything that was happening in this episode is pretty much a contributing factor as to what may play off in the finale, because if both Goku and Vegeta at their max powers using Super Saiyan Blue can't do anything to Jiren, then what makes you guys think anybody else can aside from Ultra Instinct? If it were not for Ultra Instinct, I think that Universe 7 is in grave danger, and that was clearly evident as Jiren was able to scare the Super Saiyan Blue out of Goku. And as I stated earlier, we've never seen that before, and that's the amount of influence that Jiren has over Goku in putting enough fear in his heart and scaring the power out of him. So by the end, it looks like Jiren is going to outlast, if anything, everybody except for probably Ultra Instinct. Now, another thing I do want to point out is when Goku and Vegeta, right before they powered up, what I found very interesting, and this is just me as a fan, it brought me back to their voices. It was in sync, and the way they were powering up and the way they called Jiren out and saying it's time, I instantly thought about Vegito. Now, even though Vegito will never happen, I think, in the Tournament of Power, because if it were to happen, it would have happened by now, but I don't see Vegito having to be a thing. But I really did enjoy how both Goku and Vegeta's voice were in sync when they were powering up and as they were about to throw down with Jiren by the very end. So this episode, again, if you really look at the overall structure, was pretty much focusing on not only Goku's strategy in trying to use the Destructo Disc as a ploy to ring out Jiren and cutting the rocks around him and throwing him out instead of having to go toe-to-toe with him with power, but also looking at it from a standpoint to where Jiren just seems invincible. He really does seem like he's unstoppable, and the question begs, like, as to if he's really unstoppable, like what do they need to do as a cohesive unit to put Jiren down? So, but in the end, when it's all said and done, I would like to know what you guys have to say down in the comment section below. What did you guys think about this episode? In your opinions, do you believe it was better than last week's episode? What are your overall thoughts on Vegeta's new power? What are your overall thoughts on seeing Kaioken Goku getting another shot in fighting Jiren? Post your comments down below, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys are new to this channel, consider punching that subscribe button, guys, with notifications enabled. Also, I have just opened up a brand new Snap Snapchat. Now, what I'm going to do via Snapchat in the next couple of weeks is I'm going to get your live reactions, and I'm going to be posting that during each breakdown or, you know, every Q&A just to see what the community had to say. So if you guys are curious about my Snapchat, it's called Unreal Universe. Make sure you guys follow me at Snapchat and of course on Twitter for updates and information about Super and various other things. I do want to say, guys, thank you all so much for watching. As good of an episode this was, I felt, in my opinion, it was a bit underwhelming, just a tad bit, even though the action pacing was amazing. The sub characters having to fight Dyspo, Frieza, Topo, Android 17, Gohan, it was amazing to witness everyone else get a little bit of shine here and there. But primarily speaking, Vegeta once again had a very defining moment, as Goku early on didn't really stand the chance in doing anything. He was legit trying to figure out a way how to stop Jiren, and I loved how everything Goku did backfired on him because Jiren already knew what Goku was gonna do before Goku even made those moves. So I want to know what you guys have to say down below. Tune back in for more. Tune back for the predictions video, as we are gonna go in depth with next week's episode and seeing what that more or less is gonna be about. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you all down in the comment section below. Cue my outro, bitch.